Amelia had always been an adventurer at heart. With her backpack slung over her shoulder and a map in her hands, she embarked on a solo journey into the heart of Whispering Woods, a dense, eerie forest that was said to be haunted by vengeful spirits. Ignoring the warnings of the locals, Amelia ventured deeper into the woods, her footsteps gradually swallowed by the suffocating silence of the ancient trees. As night fell, the forest came alive with sinister whispers that seemed to echo from the very roots of the trees. Amelia felt an unsettling chill creep down her spine. She tried to shake off the feeling, attributing it to her imagination, but she couldn't deny the gnawing fear that had settled in her chest. With her flashlight cutting through the darkness, she pressed on, determined to find her way back to civilization. The woods, however, seemed to play tricks on her senses. Trees twisted into grotesque shapes, and shadows danced in the periphery of her vision. The air grew thick with an otherworldly presence, making it hard for her to breathe. Suddenly, the flashlight flickered and died, leaving Amelia in pitch darkness. Panic gripped her as she fumbled for her spare batteries. In the blackness, the forest seemed to come alive with a malevolent energy. Leaves rustled with an eerie, almost human laughter, and the trees appeared to close in around her, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Amelia's heart pounded in her chest as she stumbled blindly through the forest. A distant, mournful cry echoed through the trees, sending shivers down her spine. She quickened her pace, her boots sinking into the damp earth with each step. The forest seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions, disorienting her and making her question her own sanity. Just as desperation threatened to consume her, Amelia spotted a faint glimmer of light in the distance. With renewed hope, she followed the glow, praying it would lead her to safety. The light led her to a clearing where an old, dilapidated cabin stood, its windows shattered and its wooden frame sagging under the weight of years. Cautiously, Amelia pushed open the creaky door and entered the cabin. Inside, the air was thick with dust, and the only sound was the soft patter of rain against the roof. The walls were adorned with faded photographs and tattered tapestries, depicting scenes of joy and innocence that felt oddly out of place in the sinister atmosphere of the forest. As Amelia explored further, she stumbled upon a journal, its pages yellowed with age. Curiosity getting the better of her, she began to read. The journal belonged to a woman who had once lived in the cabin, and her entries grew increasingly frantic and nonsensical as she described the supernatural occurrences in the forest. According to the journal, Whispering Woods was cursed, its ancient trees harboring vengeful spirits that tormented anyone who dared to enter. The spirits, the woman wrote, craved company, and they would do anything to keep their victims trapped within the forest forever. Amelia's blood ran cold as she realized the truth. The eerie silence, the flickering shadows, and the distant cries were not products of her imagination. The forest was alive with malevolent entities, and she had unwittingly become their prey. A sudden bone-chilling breeze swept through the cabin, extinguishing the candlelight. Amelia was plunged into darkness once more, her heart racing with terror. Whispers filled the air, mocking and taunting her. She clutched the journal, hoping its words would somehow protect her from the spirit's wrath. In the pitch-black darkness, Amelia heard footsteps approaching, slow and deliberate. The floorboards creaked under an unseen weight. Paralyzed with fear, she huddled in a corner, her breath shallow and rapid. A ghostly figure emerged from the shadows, its features obscured by a tattered veil. It glided towards her, its movements unnatural and unsettling. Amelia tried to scream, but her voice caught in her throat. The figure reached out with icy fingers, brushing against her skin like a fleeting breeze. In that moment, Amelia felt a surge of determination. She refused to become another victim of Whispering Woods. With trembling hands, she reached into her backpack and pulled out a small vial of salt, a protection against supernatural entities, according to the journal. Summoning all her courage, Amelia recited an incantation she found in the journal, sprinkling the salt in a protective circle around her. The ghostly figure let out an ear-piercing shriek, its form contorting, dissipating like smoke in the wind. The cabin trembled as if the very foundations of the forest were enraged. Amelia held her breath, waiting for the onslaught to cease. Gradually, the whispers faded and the malevolent presence lifted, leaving the cabin in an uneasy silence. As dawn broke, the forest appeared different. The trees stood still, the shadows no longer menacing. Amelia cautiously stepped out of the cabin, her eyes wide with disbelief. She had survived the nightmarish ordeal, escaping the clutches of the vengeful spirits. With newfound resolve, Amelia retraced her steps, following the path she had taken into the woods. The forest seemed to have released its grip on her, allowing her to leave unharmed. She emerged from Whispering Woods, her clothes torn and her body bruised, but her spirit unbroken. Amelia vowed to share her harrowing tale, warning others of the malevolent force that dwelled within the ancient trees. As she walked away from the forest, she cast one final glance over her shoulder, the memory of the haunting silence of whispering woods forever etched into her soul.